So where do the female bass go after they pull off the beds? They don't just vanish. It's easy to catch those males because they stay on the bed guarding the eggs and guarding the fry. Well, you know me, I love versatile baits, and this one worm, I can rig 3 different ways that help me keep up with those females from spawn to post-spawn. So the Triffinity Worm from JBros allows me to rig it several different ways depending on what the bass's mood are, but I'm going to show you 3 that I like from spawn to post-spawn. Hey, BassGeek here, and on this channel we talk about new baits and techniques that's going to help you catch more bass and have a good time doing it. And that's what this little worm right here is going to do. This is the Triffinity, a triple ribbon tail worm. This is from JBros, and it is one of the most versatile worms you can tie on this year. Now I'm going to show you a few colors that I picked up, and we're going to talk about the 3 ways that I like to rig this worm. And if you stay till the end, there's another video talking about one of my favorite Nico rig worms from JBros too. This color right here, of course, is one of my go-tos, especially in the clear water I fish. This is green pumpkin black flake. This is motor oil. This is white. Alabama crawl. Black. June bug. Pumpkin seed. Black and blue flake. Watermelon red, one of my favorite colors. Green pumpkin, purple flake, great for those smallmouth. This is the way I like to rig the Triffinity Worm first, and this is really when they're up on the bed or they're just coming off the bed. And that is because I can throw this up on their bed if they're around some cover, or a lot of times what they'll do when they first come off the bed is they'll suspend up or they'll pull up on some wood, some trees, some blowdowns, and this is weedless, and I can get it in there to them. And the very first thing this rig starts with is a bobber stop and a worm or bullet weight. Next up, I start with something like this Trocar offset worm hook. This is a 3/0. And of course, pretty much on all these, we're going to tie the pitsing knot. So there is a seam or a little air pocket right down the bait there. We're going to go right in the center of the worm. We're going to make sure we come right out in the middle up front so that we have the worm faced correctly. We're going to shove it all the way up. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to push it all the way up there. I like to get enough to where my knot's a little protected. Then, making sure the worm's nice and straight, we kind of eyeball it up to where it's going to come out. We just roll nice and straight, and you should just be able to feel the tip of the point right there. And now you've got a nice straight Texas rigged Triffinity worm. This is the Matrix from Douglas Rods. This is their high-end offering. This is a great rod, 704 fast action. 4 means the power, which means it is a medium fast rod, and that is perfect for this Texas rig with the Triffinity Worm, especially when we're fishing it on the beds or in those stopping points out there. Beautiful rod, got the foam grips on them. They're extremely comfortable. Love the way you can feel as the blank comes through the rod seat. Now we've got that coupled up with the Stunner from Fitzgerald. This is the 3000 series. This is an incredible spinning reel. You geeks really need to check it out. I think this is brand new out this year, and we've got K9 line. Love my pink line, especially right now. Me and Mike have seen a ton of pollen blowing out of the trees, a ton of pollen on the lake. It's yellow, yellowish green. That pink stands out better than that yellow backing this time of year. So make sure you're going and checking out K9 line. Here's a 10% discount. So the place I'm going to start fishing this, for largemouth, it's going to be like this spot right here over my shoulder, which is just a little ditch, a little pocket. They'll build beds around that tree on each side of that pocket, and that's where they're going to be. Now, for the smallmouth, it's going to be a little more in places like what's on down from that. So when the largemouth move out of these ditches and off the beds, they're going to go to, a lot of times, their first resting spot, which is going to be just right around the corner. And it's actually going to be some laydowns that are right here. And those are a great place to throw this little worm, because they'll be down there, snug as a bug in the rug, recuperating, waiting for any unsuspected bait fish to swim by. Now, when I'm fishing on the bed, I'm not taking this worm off the bottom. I am dragging very slowly until I get a bite. And when I do, setting the hook straight up, as always, getting the rod down. The same sort of thing applies to the brush piles. When I'm fishing the brush piles, I'm going to throw up there and I'm going to work the outside edges. I'm going to work down it. And when they hit, I'm going to set that hook and I'm going to get them turned up and away from those brush piles as quick as I can. Second way I like to fish the Triffinity Worm, and probably really one of my favorites, and it will also fish a whole lot the same way that I fish the Texas rig. I like this a little more when I'm fishing for smallmouth, because this worm is going to stand up. I make a couple of modifications to it just so we make sure that it's exactly the way I want it. But this is a 1/4 ounce, a little bit windy today, Shaky head. And by the way, I will put links in the description to everything that's in this video. And if you don't care, it really helps the channel out. Bookmark this link. You can either scan it right here, or you can go to the description, click on it, bookmark that link, so every time you go buy something from Tackle Warehouse, you can use that link. Doesn't cost you an extra penny, not a dime. We appreciate it though. So again, we just tie the pit seam knot, and as always, run it through the eye 5 to 7 times, come through the top loop, moisten, tighten down, cut the tagging. Now this is the watermelon red, and I love this color. You can leave it, and I let the fish tell me what they want. But one of the things that I love to do with this is, number one, like I said, if I'm fishing around smallmouth, really, or largemouth, I don't want to have as much hanging past the hook as I can. So what I'm going to do is just right past the egg sac, I'm going to cut that worm off. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run it up on the spring all the way to the top, nice and snug, until of course I'm right there. And then what I'm going to do, as always, so I'm going to look where that hook point's going to come out. And there you have it. It's nice and straight. Now you can leave it like this. That's absolutely great. But I'm going to show you a little trick. Whether you leave it like this or not, something else I do to it. I take a chartreuse marker and just the very tip. I don't put a whole lot on. You can use dip it, whatever, dip and dye. And on these 3, I will put a little bit of chartreuse. And there you have some chartreuse on the tails. There's a couple of things I'll do. Sometimes, especially when I'm doing this and I know they're on the bed, I'll cut this off so you've got basically a twin tail grub. Sometimes, if I want it to be a little more finesse, I'll cut these 2 off and leave one tail in the middle. And then if I want it to be really finesse, I'll cut the 2 outside off and I'll make it a cut tail, which means I'm going to cut it at a diagonal right here so that it's still got a little bit of flap, but it's more of a straight tail. That's one of my favorite ways to fish it when I'm in ultra clear water. So rod, reel, and line, literally using the same exact rod, reel, and line that I showed you for the Texas rig as we are for the Shaky head. 7 foot, medium heavy, Douglas Matrix. Got the stunner reel and the K9. Hey, go check out Douglas. There's a link in the description, 10% off code on their rods right here. Now, depending on how heavy the cover is you're going to be around, with a shaky head, we're not going to be around a whole lot of cover. 8 to 12 pound test, K9 Pro 100, 100% fluorocarbon. When I'm fishing this for smallmouth, it's going to be a little bit different, but the same. And what I mean by that is where these bass like to spawn is places like this right here to our left. It's more steep rock banks, like slate or shell rock as we call it around here. And you'll just go there and work those seams and work those ledges of that rock. Just drag it. You never want to leave bottom because you want it to be in the bed of that smallmouth the whole time. Now, when you get a bite doing this, you're going to set the hook straight up. You're going to fight that fish. Be ready. Try to keep your rod tip down because these smallmouth are pissed when you catch them off the beds. And they're going to fight like crazy. So the third way, and a great way to fish for bass, whether they be hugging the contour lines or out in open water or hugging the contour lines, is as a trailer. Now, one of my favorite things to do is either put it on a first gen copperhead and use it as a trailer. Now, like I said, you can cut it down. You can leave all three tails on, you can cut the center out, or you can cut the two outside out and have any variation that you want and really adjust the size of the trailer. But one of my favorite things to do, also from first gen, is the top spin. So you guys have seen this, it's real finessey. And what I like to do is put this on, and this is killer in the post spawn for these female bass. When they're out there roaming, when they're out there feeding, when the shad come up, this is incredible. Now this is how I rig it. So I'm gonna leave all three on here. I'm not gonna rig it flat, even though you could. I'm gonna rig it sideways so that it's almost like a spinnerbait skirt. So now I am gonna cut it off. You can leave it nice and long if you want to, if you want it a little more bulky. But I'm gonna cut it off, and realistically, right about the first quarter of that egg sac. So about right there. Now what that does is give it a really good compact presentation. Pretty finessey too. Now we're gonna go straight through the middle, push it up on there, try to keep it as straight as possible, come out about right there. But push it up nice and straight, and there you have it. You've got a nice, straight little spinnerbait. All right, so again, like I told you before, it's gonna be the pit seam knot. It's gonna be the same exact knot that I showed you the first two times. So for this setup, we're gonna use the Douglas Arrow Rod. This is their chatterbait rod, but it is perfect for this little setup. What I love about the Douglas Arrow Rod, the cork grips are phenomenal, but this rod retails for $100. And then you use that code for 10% off, you can get it pretty much shipped free or even $10 cheaper, right? $90 for this rod. That's pretty amazing. So this is a 7'1", so a 715F, which means it's a 7 foot 1 inch fast action rod. It's light as a feather, geeks. I'm telling you right now, this thing is light as a feather. Love the Battleship Gray on it, and I've got that teamed up with a Lew's Custom Pro. It is a 6/8 to 1. I like this on a 6'5", 6'8". It allows me to be able to fish it fast or fish it slow and slow roll it. And as far as the line goes, generally I'm going to use 10 to 12 pound tests. Again, this is K9 Pro 100, which means it's 100% fluorocarbon. Now, you can use their fluoro, which is a co-poly. It's great on there because a lot of times what happens when you throw spinner baits is you'll get a hit and you'll jerk it away. That K9 co-poly has got just a little bit of stretch, so a little bit of forgiveness for those chatterbaits and those spinner baits. And as always, got a 10% discount on the K9 line. Go check them out. So I love to fish this immediately in the postpone. Once I know it's just males on the bed and they're guarding that fry, I love to pull this out. And what I do with this bait is, for the largemouth, I'm gonna go down the banks. I'm gonna hit those same areas we talked about Texas rigging in the first setup, and I'm gonna use this to cover water a little bit faster. Now, if the shad begin to pull up on the bank, we're gonna find those areas, those hard banks, those dock areas, where we're gonna be able to use this to be able to catch those bass, those females who are generally feeding up on shad first. Now, when it comes to the smallmouth, a lot of times what they're gonna do when the female smallmouth come off the bed, they're just gonna pull straight out. Now, that can be kind of hard if you don't have forward-facing sonar. Now, you can still go down the bank and catch a few without forward-facing sonar, but what you want to do is stay a little bit farther off the bank so you're making a little bit longer cast to them, because what they'll do is they'll pull out. They're really not in a chasing mood, and that's what makes this bait great, is it's very subtle. So you can swim it by them, and a lot of times they'll pounce on it. Once those shad begin to pull up though, this is also a great bait to take advantage of the shad spawn. Those females a lot of times, again, are gonna be the first one up there with the feed bag tied on. When you see that, you're gonna find those shad first thing in the morning. You're just gonna slow roll this bait down that bank, and Katie, bar the door, you better hang on. Those big females are gonna clock it. All right, geeks, this is a worm you should absolutely check out. You can do so much more than even what we're talking about with it right here. There's actually a great blog that JBros put out. I don't even remember how many ways. It's like 17 ways to rig this worm. I'll put that link down in the description too, so you can go check out all the uses and probably more that you can even think of. Like I said, go check that out. Go check out JBros. They make some really good baits. All right, geeks, like we always say, you got to watch to win. Look, if you geeks ain't watching these videos, I don't know how you claim your prizes. We give away a box every single month, and you know, if you don't, we're just gonna throw it back into the box, and we'll divide it up and give it away again. So, you know, watch and win. We say it all the time. All right, let's see who is going to win this box. Oh, yeah, look at me. I guess I need to paste that in here. Now, let's see. We don't want to allow duplicates. 75 comments. Pick a winner. Hashtag jig. I love my LOB finesse jigs. I do too. I've got several of those. And Bass Medic, you won. So make sure you check it out. We'll holler at you. Appreciate it. Speaking of good baits, you need to check out the video about Nico rigging their Haymaker worm. The Nico rig is taking the world by storm because of forward-facing sonar. But go check that video out right here. Otherwise, questions and comments in the comments section below. You geeks know I love to talk about fishing with you. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you geeks ring that bell so you get the notifications. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad, and you geeks rock.